Hello everyone and welcome back to Flo's Corner. So in this video we're going to be making some delicious pretzels and pretzel bites, so please stay tuned. So here are all the ingredients that we are going to be using for this recipe. I will link all of it in the description box below. I will be using my stand mixer, but you can actually do this recipe by hand if you would like. So first you want to start with 1.5 cups of warm water. Make sure it doesn't go over 110 degrees. 1 packet of fast-acting yeast. Regular yeast is fine, but just make sure to have it bloom for 5 minutes before preparing. I like to use 1/2 tablespoon of granulated sugar and 1/2 tablespoon of brown sugar. You can use one or the other or both, just as long as it adds up to 1 tablespoon of sugar. Now give your mix a good mix for about 10 seconds. Now you're going to add 4 cups of bread flour. I recommend using bread flour to make pretzels because you don't want the bread to be so dense like with all-purpose flour. Now you're going to add your hook attachment to your stand mixer, and then you're going to give this a good mix for about 20 seconds. Once you see the ingredient starts to come together a bit, now you want to add your butter. You're going to use 2 tablespoons of salted butter. I prefer the butter not to be fully melted, but just to be softened enough so that it can actually incorporate into the mixture very well. If you are going to use unsalted butter, then you're going to want to have at least a teaspoon of regular salt. But when you're using salted butter, you do not need to use extra salt or you'll have a salty dough. Mix for another 2 minutes just to get everything incorporated. It should have like a funky look, not a very smooth look, which is fine. Sprinkle some of the flour onto your surface, and now you're going to knead the dough for a good 10 seconds. I do not look for such a smooth texture when kneading the dough because it's going to rise anyways, so the pretzels are still going to taste delicious and they're still going to look very nice. Now you're going to grease your bowl and you're going to place your dough into the bowl and then cover it with plastic wrap so it can rise for a good hour. Make sure to put a towel or a small tiny blanket on top so that it can rise. After the hour is up, now you're going to see that the dough has risen and doubled in size. Now you are going to remove the dough. You do not have to flatten it at this point, and you do not have to flour your surface, and you do not have to knead the dough again. Just leave it as is. So here I am going to cut the dough in half. I'm going to take 1/2 of the dough and move it aside. I'm going to take that half and cut into 4 different sections. Do not worry that the sections are not even in size because we are going to be rolling out this dough into a small thin layer. It will give us the rope effect. So here I'm going to take one of the 4 sections and I'm going to roll it thin. Not too thin where it's very stringy, but just thin enough so that I can make the pretzel shape. It should be nice and sturdy when you lift it up. Now I'm going to take the 2 ends and lift upward so that they both meet, and then I'm going to twist twice around itself, and then I'm going to place those ends to meet the middle of the dough. Okay, so here I'll give you a better demonstration. You're going to take the 2 ends, move them upward, twist twice, and then bring it down to the dough. Now you can get the shapes of the circles that you want on the side of the pretzels. It is up to you of how you want your pretzels to look. You can play with it a little bit to get your desired look and shape, but it's up to you. Once again, we are going to take the ends, move them upward, twist twice around each other, and then you're going to bring it down to the middle part of the dough and you can shape the circle part. I decided to do different sizes of pretzels, so I did one big one, I did a couple of medium sized ones, and a couple of small ones. With baking, you can be so creative. You do not have to have your baked goods look like someone else's. It's all up to you how you feel and how you want yours to turn out. So have fun with it when you are baking. So now we're going to move on to the pretzel bites. Here I am taking one of the 4 sections that we have split up, and I am going to roll it not too thin because we're not going to shape these into a pretzel. We are going to be cutting these in half. So what I'm going to do is just roll this out just kind of thick to your discretion, and then I'm going to cut little pieces out, and those are what are going to give me our pretzel bites. So here I'm going to be using my cake cutter. I'm just going to be cutting out small little sections of this dough to give me pretzel bite shape. It is really up to your discretion how big you want these pretzel bites to be, but they're bite-sized, so they're supposed to be fairly small but thick. So here are all the pretzels. These are the pretzel bites and the pretzels that we rolled into a pretzel shape. Okay, so here is a very crucial step that you don't want to miss when making pretzels. This is 4 cups of water with 1/3 cup of baking soda. This is what gives pretzels their distinctive taste, and this is also what makes them pop as pretzels. I apologize, I thought I had filmed me putting the baking soda in, but I guess I did not. What we are going to do is be placing each and every one of the pretzels into this mixture for about 15 seconds the most. Do not do 20 to 30 seconds because you will get that pungent taste that the baking soda will give these pretzels, and it is not pleasant. So with the pretzel bites, I put 2 at a time and I turned them 5 seconds each, and then I took them out. If your dough sinks to the bottom or starts to shred, you had left them in there too long. For the bigger pretzels, you want to place them in and then turn them over so that it can get covered with the baking soda. But like I said, do not leave them in there no longer than 15 seconds. It is best to do the bigger ones one by one instead of 2 in the pot because you don't want to overcook one. Take them all out and place them on a sheet with parchment paper. Now you're going to add your egg wash. Here I just have some salted butter, about a 1/2 tablespoon of salted butter and 1 egg, and I mix it together. Some people do egg washes by themselves, but I like to add butter to give it that salty, buttery taste. Now I like to place it in the oven at 400 degrees for about 20 minutes. You can add your salt at this moment before placing them into the oven, but it is up to you because you can also do it after by adding butter when they are done. I highly recommend sea salt versus granulated salt because it just looks better and tastes better on pretzels. And here they are. If you want your pretzels to have a more darker golden look, then I would say to leave it in just a little bit longer. But for me, this is exactly how I like my pretzels to be because they are nice and soft and super delicious. You can add cheese dip, mustard, honey mustard, or however, or you can just eat them just like so. These are so delicious, y'all. You can store them in an airtight container or a Ziploc bag and microwave them for 15 seconds to get that warm taste. And thank you all for tuning in. I hope to see you in my next video. Bye.